It seems like everything is high protein now. Bars, cereals, cookies, even popcorn. And while protein is essential, many of these products that are flooding grocery stores, but also social media, are a lot more marketing hype than they are meaningful protein sources. Which is why in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down 10 of the most overrated high protein foods and products so you know exactly what to watch out for and what to eat instead. Let's start out with one of the most overrated high protein products out there, protein popcorn. This is actually the product that inspired this entire video. I saw it, purchased it, and I needed to speak out. But there's many of these products, including the super popular Cloud protein popcorn by Khloe Kardashian, which is marketed as a high protein, low guilt treat. Here's the deal. I love the idea of high protein foods and products and snacks. I include a bunch of them in my own nutrition plan and I give them to clients. But when you look at the objective nutrition of these products, they're not nearly as diet focused or as high protein as they seem. For example, the olive oil and sea salt flavor of the Cloud protein, per serving it has 150 calories and only 7 grams of protein. That's not much, and in reality it's not all that different from normal protein. So if you're eating that specifically for the protein and trying to watch your calories, it's really not going to move the needle. And to get a meaningful amount of protein, you'd need to eat a lot of it. Take the OPP protein for example. Right on the front of the bag it says 40 grams of protein. But that's for the entire bag. When you take a look at the label, it's only gonna be 5 grams of protein for a 100 gram serving. To get all 40 grams of protein, you're gonna need to eat the entire bag, and that's also gonna come with 800 calories. Comparatively, a single cup of Greek yogurt is gonna give you 15 grams of protein for only 100 calories. So even if you had 2 or 3 cups of the Greek yogurt, you're gonna get double the amount of protein and still come far under the calories while getting a whole food protein source. And that's the kind of trend we're gonna see in this video. Foods that are marketed as high protein, but when you actually take a look at the label, they aren't worth the cost of calories for the amount of protein that you're getting. Especially when you consider the price tag. OPP is $10 per bag. The Cloud popcorn is $5.99. Let's move on to product number 2, protein bars. Now I know what you're thinking. There's a lot of protein bars out there that give you 20 to 30 grams of protein per serving. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about the glorified granola bars that slap high protein on the label and really don't deliver much. Take one stroll down one of the middle aisles of the grocery store and you're gonna see this high protein labeling everywhere. Each and every granola bar is gonna have a higher protein version, but when you look at the nutrition label, you flip things over, all you're gonna see is at most 8 to 12 grams of protein per serving. And yes, of course, this stuff adds up, but when that's included in a product that's going to supply 150 to 200 calories and not give you 25 to 30 grams of protein, like is in a normal protein bar, you're gonna be relying on foods to hit your protein target that aren't gonna get you very far. So if your goal is fat loss or muscle gain, try to pick protein bar products that have at least 18 to 20 grams of protein per bar, or stick with real foods like Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, or a homemade protein shake. Let's move on to our next 2 overrated protein foods. We're talking protein cereals and granola. If it feels like you've woken up in some strange childhood dream where all of your favorite cereals as a kid now are acceptable to eat because they have protein in them, you're not alone. There's been a bunch of cereals and granola that have been marketed as higher protein by adding a little bit of protein per serving to the products so you can eat the same things you did as a kid, promising all the nostalgia without any of the guilt. And I get it. Some of these are pretty good and I even eat them from time to time, but the reality is most of these cereals only have 10 to 14 grams per serving, which are included in a 150 calorie serving, which sometimes includes the milk. You gotta be careful of that. And let's be honest, who is actually weighing out that serving of cereal? Most people are eyeballing it. So in reality, you're probably consuming 300 calories for 15 to 20 grams of protein before even adding any toppings or anything like that. Overall, not the worst choice, but not something I would rely on a day-to-day basis. which I think a lot of people are falling for. Plus, like many processed foods, these type of options aren't going to go far on a satiety basis. They're not going to fill you up. Yes, they can be convenient, but if you're stuck hungry, even with the additional protein in an hour or 2 hours, you're more likely to overeat anyway. In comparison, you could probably have an egg white omelet with some vegetables and a cup of Greek yogurt, which would give you 35 grams of protein for 200 calories and be more full and satiated. And granola is the exact same story. Even if it's marketed as protein granola, you're typically only getting 4 to 6 grams of protein, plus the added sugars and oils. These products can be fun as a topping, but there are other options. If you love cereal or granola, great, you can eat them. Just don't build your meals around these as protein sources. Before we move on to the next overrated protein product, let's take a step back. If you're looking into these protein products, it's probably because you want to get leaner and you know the importance of protein, or you want to gain some muscle. And after working with thousands of nutrition clients, I can confirm protein is one of the most important things you can focus on. But one of the smartest things you can do is get the majority of your overall daily protein intake from whole foods. The products that we're talking about today can absolutely have their place, but you should eat them on a more occasional basis and not build your meals around them. Build your meals and snacks around whole food protein sources like chicken, beef, fish, eggs, and dairy, as well as beans, lentils, and tofu. So you can be consuming more protein as well as essential nutrients and fiber. It's not that these high protein products are bad, they just shouldn't be the foundation of your nutrition plan. Now, here's a good rule of thumb for protein products. If you're gonna supplement with them, make sure that the protein that you're consuming in them makes up at least 10% of the total calories per serving. If it's less than 10% of the total calories coming from protein, the product is more or less marketing hype. You don't need to avoid that product entirely, just don't build your diet around it. Now let's move on to our next overrated protein products, number 5 and 6, protein muffins and protein cookies. In many cases, you can find protein cookies and muffins already pre-made in the package, but you could also buy them as mix. Most of these products per serving are going to have between 8 to 12 grams of protein for around 250 to 300 calories. In many cases, if you want to enjoy some dessert while still getting some protein, you're going to be in a much better position if you make your own product. There are tons of recipes out there for higher protein mug cakes, black bean brownies, and pancakes that use enough protein powder. When you make it yourself, generally you're going to have higher levels of protein, maybe even lower calories, work in some fruit, things like that. You'll have more control over the ingredients. Yes, it's a bit more work, but generally you'll be in a better spot. If you want to grab something ready-made, usually some of the best choices come from the supplement companies like Quest or similar brands that have higher protein cookies and brownies that generally have enough protein included in them. A good rule of thumb around a lot of these products: if you're not going to consume the food anyway, don't add it in just for the protein, which is going to be the opposite scenario of our next product on the list, which is protein pasta. Okay, there's two main types here. We're talking about wheat-based pastas that have additional protein in them, and then more like chickpea or lentil-based pastas. The first group are regular wheat pastas that have additional wheat or pea isolate added into the actual product for more protein, which sounds like a pretty easy swap to begin with, but in reality, they only add so much more protein. Most of these types of protein pastas have around 12 to 15 grams of protein per serving compared to 8 grams for the normal wheat-based pasta. So not a huge difference, especially if you're paying an additional $2, $3, $4 per box for the additional protein. And when you think about the bigger picture here, if your daily overall goal is to hit 120 grams of protein, 6 additional grams isn't going to make a huge dent in that. In many cases, you'd be better off eating a regular pasta that you enjoy and pairing it with a whole food protein source like chicken, beef, or shrimp, and you'd probably be way ahead protein-wise while also saving some money. Now, the chickpea and lentil-based pastas are a little bit different. Generally, there's more more protein included in those. The black bean pastas, for example, or chickpea or lentil, they have around 20 grams of protein per serving. So it does go a lot further, but that also comes with a lot of additional carbs. Not so much additional carbs for the actual pasta, but additional carbs for your protein source. Of all the foods on the list today, these protein pastas, the black bean, chickpea, and lentil varieties are the most acceptable because they have fiber as well as an acceptable amount of total protein. But given their level of carbs, it's still something just to be mindful of. Now let's wrap up with one of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to protein foods. Number 9 and 10, nuts and nut butters. You see nuts and nut butters listed all the time as a good protein source, but in reality, this couldn't be further from the truth. Most servings of nuts or nut butters are gonna have around 4 to 5 grams of protein per serving, which are gonna be accompanied with around 15 to 20 grams of fat, which in reality just makes them a fat source with some protein, not a true protein source. To put that into perspective, in many cases, a 100-gram serving of chicken, which will have around 20 to 23 grams of protein and similar calories, is going to be a much better protein source. Now, this doesn't mean that you need to avoid nuts or nut butters entirely. Just don't choose them as the building block for your meal or what to base your protein around, because it won't get you very far. They're still full of healthy fats, vitamins, and minerals, and you can include them in a healthy diet. Just don't choose them as your protein source. And that's it, folks. That wraps up our list of the top 10 most overrated protein foods and products out there right now. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. I post 2 videos like this each and every week to help you make smarter nutrition decisions and build healthier habits. And if you liked this video, you're gonna love this video I've linked up right here. Next up, I'm gonna show you the best high protein foods to include in your diet if you want to get leaner and build some muscle. You're going to learn all about those foods in this video I've linked up right here. So check it out now. I'll see you in the next video.